Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming at you on October 20th, 2021. Again, it's scary times as always, whether you're a kid or an adult, not just because it's Halloween, but pretty much because of the creeps who are running things right now. But before we get to any of that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon the Word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our Screaming Eagle of Freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So let's jump right into it. This one is, we're going to be talking a lot about school-related stuff and just the terrible things that we seem to be inflicting upon our kids nowadays. So if we can bring up this first story here, it comes to us out of New York, and this seems to be just about what you would expect from a central planner. They're ending the GATE program, that's the Gifted and Talented program in New York, in the name of equity. Essentially, DeBlasio wants all kids to be equally dumb, I guess. Which is, just it's such a sad thing. The idea of the GATE program is supposed to identify kids who have a higher aptitude and to help develop that. So that those kids can excel in the public school system, which is excelling in the public school system may be a bit of an oxymoron, I guess. But as far as being able to do something to address people's different levels of aptitude, this is one of the few programs they have. And the idea that they're ending this because they're upset that some kids are doing better than others. Duh! I mean, if you literally are a kid who can, is more capable in school, then you're just going to be able to. And that's what the market shows us. That's literally how we interact with each other. There's people who are better actors than other actors that we watch in films. There's people who write better stories than other people. There's people who make better cars than other people. And I mean, it's just everything down the line you can go to it. And we don't say, hey, nope, you all got to be equal. And yet that's what our New York City school system under Mayor DeBlasio on his way out, this kind of crud, he that's what he's leaving them with, this big steaming pile of of public policy. So what do you guys have to say about this issue?
I just have one question. Are they going to let the short fat kids that can't run on the basketball team? That's what I'm wondering.
Tim, I guess that would be next, you see. That would be next. Under the equity and inclusion programs.
Oh, sure.
That would be next.
Yeah, everybody should be able to play basketball, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Even 65-year-old guys with bad knees, like myself, we should be given NBA contracts. This is the thing.
Definitely.
But you see what's going on here. What's going on here is the white kids and the Asian kids are dominating the Gifted and Talented program in New York. So, of course, that is a great evil because we cannot have that. We cannot have white kids and Asian kids outperforming everybody else. Otherwise, obviously, the answer has to be racism or some sort of oppression by the white man. Okay? It has to mean that. So DeBlasio is going to correct that. And how he's going to correct that? You're going to turn everybody into a bunch of, I better not say it, in a bunch of dumb donkeys is what he wants to do, right? Everybody have to be donkeyfied, okay? Nobody
is that to help them vote?
Nobody can do well. Nobody can show great aptitude in mathematics or in science or nothing like that. Otherwise, there must be some form of racism, some sort of inequity that is causing this. This is the mentality of these people. The amazing thing about this and the horrible thing about this is these people are running our schools, the public schools, where we're supposed to be public education, where there's no education ongoing, where 2 and 2 equal to 4 may become a racist statement. What is wrong with our society that we are allowing these things to continue? It is kind of scary right now.
Sorry, Leon, I couldn't help. I was trying to break in earlier when you said he's trying to donkify the students to dumb them down, and maybe thinking, is he just trying to condition them to be Democrat voters? Is that what's going on here? I didn't. That didn't strike the chord with me at first, but hey, maybe that's what's going on. But the terrible thing too is, this is the perfect, point of school choice. The idea that we're all different, that kids are not coming in the same, and therefore we all have different needs. And I mean, there's going to be some kids that, are going to need extra help, and there's going to be some kids that are going to maybe have a higher aptitude at sports or arts or science or something. And the idea that we have to shove them all into the same mix and try and say, let's not see anybody do any better so that we're all equal. It's just horrific. And I mean, that's, I think that's the lesson of markets and choice, and why we want school choice is to get the competition benefits of that in the schools. But yeah, it's just.
With that kind of, Tim, did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't.
Okay. But with that kind of mentality, where everybody have to be equal, where all attitudes have to be equal, otherwise there's some sort of racism or oppression. You know what? We never would have had this. Our iPhones, we never would have had this if everybody had to be equal. Because what is the benefit of people working hard and being innovative and creative if everybody have to be equal? Incomes have to be equal. Aptitude have to be equal. Creativity have to be equal. Otherwise, there's something wrong. This is the mentality that's driving us today. And this is the dangerous thing of we right here in the United States. We don't need China. We don't need China to come here and destroy us, We don't need that, We are doing it ourselves. Because unless we stop these people from their madness, that is what we will do. Destroy ourselves. Our constitutional republic will disappear unless we stop these people and their madness.
Yeah, and tying this all back to basketball, where you guys kind of went with this at the beginning, what would the NBA be if everybody had the same vertical, if everybody had the exact same capability to play? Right. There would be no, if I could be like Michael Jordan, there would be nobody to dream and idolize about, out there on the court to show what human excellence can be. So in that area, it's just, well, yeah, as far as that goes, and these horrendous central planners in education go, moving over to Virginia, and the guy who wants to be governor again of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, he recently told parents in a debate that they really shouldn't, that parents shouldn't be telling schools what to teach their kids, which is just kind of off the wall nowadays. I mean, the idea that you should have no input in what's going on. Apparently, hasn't heard of parent teachers associations, other things. But beyond that, just the idea of things like school choice. The idea maybe your kid dreams of being an engineer. Well, so maybe you want to push your kid into a school that focuses more on that. But the idea that this guy is going to tell you, hey, look, you're just going to do what we tell you to do. Just get in the lunch line and we'll slop something on your plate. And there you go. That's your education. I don't know. It's pretty horrific the way these central planners think. What do you guys think about this guy?
Well, if I could just say something short, the parents aren't worried about what math book you use or, who edited the history book. Generally, what all they care about is the sex education stuff that's got showing sex acts and things like that to third graders, and critical race theory stuff. So all this stuff it's not reading, it's not writing, it's not arithmetic, it's social planning and social engineering. So that's what they're worried about. So he talks about, oh, they're going to come in and ban our books. I got to ban our books. Maybe if they got, pictures of showing a sex act, or if they're telling white kids that they're evil, then yeah, maybe they want to ban those books. But no, I'm not talking about your reading, writing, and arithmetic, you moron. Just shut up. Anyway, go ahead, Leon.
You see the problem that we are having in public education, if you could insult education by calling what is going on in public schools education these days. The problem we have is that these people want to put all sorts of poison into the school. Okay? They want critical race theory, they want to put that in. But what about reading, writing, and arithmetic? No, that could wait. Every sort of environmental thing, oh yes, we need to put that in. What about reading, writing, and arithmetic? Oh, that could wait. Every social justice thing, Black Lives Matter, oh, we need to teach them about that. But what about reading, writing, and arithmetic? Those things could wait. You see, Terry Mcauliffe, this guy, he should be a poster child for school choice. That's what he should be, a poster child for school choice. Because listen to what that man said. And this is a message that the teachers' unions have been trying to perpetrate all over the United States. Parents should not be involved in their children's education. They should not be telling the teachers what to teach their children. They should not be objecting when they teach them all the poison of critical race theory or any of the other poisons that they've been teaching for many years in the public schools. Terry Mcauliffe should be a poster child for school choice. Wherever we want to send our kids, let the money follow the child. And that will solve many of the problems that we are seeing. All this protest that is going on in Loudon County, County, Virginia, all of it we can solve with school choice. All of it. We wouldn't have these people protesting. We're going to talk about some other stuff later on that is just horrendous when you think about it. We need school choice, and we need it fast. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole next generation of American kids not being educated.
Yeah. Well, it's terrible too, as you guys mentioned, the CRT stuff and just some of the other nonsense that they're trying to push, propaganda that they're trying to push on kids in the schools. I don't think it's quite as simple as that, though, as far as school choice goes. Because if you ever saw the movie Waiting for Superman and some of these others, there are a lot of parents out there who are just absolutely brought to tears by the fact that their kids have been essentially abandoned in these schools, where it's literally just a factory to send these kids into the prisons afterwards. I mean, it's just terrible that the ineptitude of some of these public schools, and you see it with people like Obama and our terrible Governor Newsom, who they elect not to send their kids to these public schools, right? I mean, if they were so wonderful, they could have their kids go there, but they choose not to go there. And they were making these choices long before CRT and other things. I mean, it's just the absolute ineptitude of these schools in generating successful kids who are capable to get out in the real world and do things. So, anyway, that's
but you see, what they always do. What they always do is that the minute we have people start to yell and scream about school choice and about the conditions of the public schools and all sort of things, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to find somebody who went to the public school who became successful, and they're going to say, "Oh, look at this guy. He went to the public schools and he turned out all right. But why? What are you complaining about?" But this is not the point. The point is what happens to the average kid. This is the point. If you look at what's going on with black and brown kids in America in the public school system today, it's a disgrace. It's a national disgrace. All they are doing right now within the inner cities of America, they have two pipelines. For young black and brown girls, is a pipeline that starts in high school and ends in welfare. And for young black and brown boys, is a pipeline that starts in high school and ends up in prison. That is what the public schools are doing today. And this is what these Democrats support, that pipeline. They and the teachers' unions. That's what they're doing.
Well, the only cure is competition. But so let's dive a little deeper into what you get without competition. So if we go farther into McAuliffe's home state of Virginia here, they have this Loudon County. And here they have a story here of a school board where a Virginia girl who was going to this Loudon County school district, she was sexually assaulted in the bathroom by a kid who was wearing a dress, I guess, who identified as bisexual or something. I don't know. One of the, as Dave Chappelle says, one of the alphabet people. I'm not sure which one. but as far as it goes, I mean, this is a women's bathroom. This is a girl's bathroom. And this girl was not safe there. And so the scandal gets deeper. They had a school board meeting that happened not too long after this incident occurred. And this picture, by the way, is of the father of the girl who's in this story. And so the father of the girl turned up at the school board, and he wanted his story to be told. And they were having a discussion about whether or not boys who identified as girls should be allowed to use the girls' restrooms. And so he wanted to tell his daughter's story of the rape that had happened to her. And he had to listen as they said, they asked for any evidence that there had been any problems in their own school district. And they sat there and heard testimony of nope, no problems at all after his daughter had been raped in one of these bathrooms, by some kid wearing a dress, right? By a boy wearing a dress. And then it turned out later that this boy wearing the dress, they had just relocated him to another school. They tried not to discipline him criminally and send him to another school, and he sexually assaulted another girl in a classroom. So I mean, it's just absolutely beyond belief. And now some of these school board members are having to apologize and resign for what happened. The father was arrested at that meeting because he was upset, and apparently somebody accused him of lying about the experience of his daughter in the school that apparently this gutless school board had was not prepared to stand up and say what actually happened in their own school. It's just absolutely horrific, the fallout. But this is kind of what you get when you're forced to go someplace with no choice. So you guys got any thoughts on this particular story from Virginia?
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Leon.
Okay, but you see, this is the zip code tyranny that is ongoing. Okay, I live in 95758, but at the time when my kids were school age, so they had to go to certain schools. I mean, we did go to Catholic school for a little while, but most of the school they went to public school. This zip code tyranny is what is creating all these problems. On top of that, now everybody wants to be politically correct on this gender issue, where they're allowing these so-called transgender girls, which are really biological boys, to go into the girls' bathroom. What do you think is going to happen when you allow that to happen? We have teenagers, 15, 16, and 17 years old, with raging hormones entering bathrooms of the opposite sex. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think? Is it surprising that something like this happened? What is worse about this particular incident that you just described, Jason? These people deliberately try to cover it up. Okay, that superintendent of schools who should resign or probably should be prosecuted, he said in a June meeting after the incident had occurred, there's no incident of what transgender attacks or anything like that and that kind of stuff. You know why he said that? Because he had to be woke. So he didn't care about the safety of the kids that he's supposed to be in charge of. He don't care about that. He care about being woke. He care about being having the correct political views. Even though we had one instance of a girl being raped and another instance of sexual assault at another school after they transferred the kid, they sweep the things under the carpet, and it's only because that father came there, that same person on the screen right now, came there and was trying to describe what happened to them. Then they started to pay attention because it became public knowledge. These people are nothing but downright evil in what they're trying to do to us. That's what's going on here.
Well, and let me just add too that this father who you see who's being arrested in this picture by these policemen, the mainstream media, people like Joy Reid, that joke of a news personality on MSNBC, she actually cited this person as some Yahoo who was, essentially in the wrong, and coming to their school board meeting upset about this bathroom issue. Right. And I mean, it's just if it wasn't for I think it was the reporting of the Daily Wire here, this story wouldn't have gotten out. I mean, the mainstream media was perfectly willing to just write the narrative of just some crazy Yahoo parent who needed to be arrested and just let the school do. The school knows what's best. Just listen.
Well, look at the heading under the picture. Scott Smith is seen detained after a fight broke out during a Loudon County School Board meeting. Right. Which included a discussion of critical race theory and transgender students. Not a word about his daughter.
Exactly.
Not a word.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
No. Yeah, it's just absolutely horrifying, some of the stuff. It doesn't just stop at the local level, apparently. Biden wants to get in on the act, too. And apparently they are enlisting the Department of Justice and the FBI to come in now and essentially treat these parents who, I guess, get upset about what's being taught to their kids and the way that their teachers or their kids essentially are essentially they're almost being molested in some cases in these schools mentally by the people who are running these places. The type of treatment that they're being subjected to, regardless if there's physical harm that's going on, just some of the way that these kids are being treated, and the parents are right to want to be involved. I mean, I thought there was a time when we said parents should be involved. Now they're declaring you a terrorist if you don't go along, if you want to get involved. Terrorist. Yeah. And this is what you get, right? Without school choice. You have school choice, people who want a school district who does this kind of thing, they can choose it, right? And if you want a school district that goes in another direction, you can choose it, right? And people can self-segregate into whatever group makes them comfortable. And there you go. No problem. But instead, you force it all under one place, central command. There you go. And now suddenly some parents are terrorists because anyways, you guys have any thoughts on this terrible way that our Justice Department and Biden are heading with things?
You see, the education, what is happening here is the education of our children is now being politicized. The safety of our children in schools are also being politicized. And that is what is going on. Nobody cares about educating our children. Nobody cares about teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, you tell me, on what basis does Merrick Garland think that the federal government has the authority to come into a school district and investigate parents because they object to what's going on in their local schools? Where is the authority for him to do this? But yet he wrote this letter. And you know why he wrote the letter? Because the national, what's the name of the organization? I think it was the National School Board Association or something like that. They wrote a letter to him telling him about all these threats to school board officials. But somebody, they listed several threats, so-called threats and so-called incidents. They went through the lists that the National School Board Association provided. I think they found one thing that was even close to being something that should be investigated. And even then, it could be surely be investigated and prosecuted if necessary by local officials. But yet here comes the federal government. Here comes Joe Biden. But the teachers' unions, I am sure, had something to do with this, even though they are not mentioned. I'm sure they had something to do with this. Because these people object to any kind of reforms going on in the schools. They always object to it. So they have to get the FBI and the federal government in general to quiet these people down so they just bow down and be servants to these people. That is what is going on here.
Wow, I'm glad my kids are all grown.
Yeah, it's
what a mess. Because especially for poor kids from poor families, they don't have much choice. The families can't afford a private school, but I tell you, If I had kids today, I'd be sending them to some semblance of a private school. They have some control over the education. It's totally out of control.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's pretty terrible. And, that brings us up to our Knucklehead Noise Patrol, though. We like to wrap up the show with something a little bit funny. And so apparently Bernie Sanders was in the news not too long ago, and it had to do with this reconciliation, I guess, where they're trying to pass these large budget bills. And so Bernie kind of illustrated some of this new math that you might be picking up in the schools here, where apparently he was upset that 48 senators don't outweigh 52 senators in what gets passed. And so essentially the quote from Bernie Sanders is, 2 senators cannot be allowed to defeat what 48 senators and 210 House members want. We must stand with the working families of our country. We must combat climate change. We must delay passing the infrastructure bill until we pass a strong reconciliation bill. But again, apparently just throw out all the rules and apparently just shake the numbers out however they shake out for you. 48 senators trumps 52 in Bernie's book. You guys got any thoughts on that?
Is this because there's 2 senators per state and there's 50 states? So that's 100 senators total. Is that what this is about?
No. There are 2 senators. It's Christian Sinema from Arizona, who's a Democrat, and the guy from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, who's also a Democrat. But they are not going along with this massive spending bill, what they call a reconciliation bill or something like that Biden want to get through the Senate. They're not going along with it. So those are the 2 senators that Bernie's talking about.
Okay, but this mention of 48 Trump, is that forgetting the other 52 senators?
Right.
I mean, because there's 100 total. I thought that was what it was about.
Bernie, Bernie Sanders has developed a new math. You see, he thinks the 48 Democrats who support the massive spending bill should outweigh the 52. That is all the Republicans plus the two Democrats. He thinks that they should stand above those. Everybody votes don't count. They only count equally when the Democrats in charge.
I get it. Yeah.
And as to your point, Tim, I mean, the Democrats have certainly been trying to reshuffle the numbers and add a few more senators and a few more Supreme Court justices.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
If they can get them over this last couple of months.
Yeah.
The first idea is that they were floating, they were going to make Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, they're going to make that a state, and they will surely get 2 Democrats out of that. And they were even thinking about making Puerto Rico a state, and which will also probably give them at least 1, maybe 2 Democratic senators. So then they will have power forever. That was the intent. You know?
Well, the math is what it is, and so is the math for the time of our show, and we're just about out of time. So thank you so much for joining us, and please join us in the next one. Until then, stay free.
Bye.